Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We are going to continue here with the chapter of the Heifer, 217. They will ask thee of the sacred month, of fighting therein, say, fighting therein is a great sin, but turning folks off from Allah's way, and misbelief in Him, and in the sacred mosque, and turning his people out therefrom, is greater in Allah's sight, and sedition is greater sin than slaughter. They will not cease from fighting you until they turn you from your religion if they can, but whosoever of you is turned from his religion and dies while still a misbeliever, these are those who work in vain in this world and in the next. They are the fellows of the fire, and they shall dwell therein for aye. Verily those who believe and those who flee, and those who wage war in Allah's way, these may hope for Allah's mercy, for Allah is forgiving and merciful. They will ask thee about wine. Khamr is every intoxicant. And a maysar. Say, in both is a sin and profit to men, but the sin of both is greater than the profit of the same. And there was a translation I gave to somebody back in 2011. They said they were going to read it. They got to page 19. At the end of page 19 was verse 219. The one that condemned the very problem that they had. And it's possible that that person, if they're alive, is going to see. So, Al-Maysar was games of chance. But that wasn't the problem. The problem was the intoxicants. As most Americans have a problem with alcohol or tobacco or caffeine's the most common used drug, and yes, it applies to that, but don't let the condemnation of one thing keep you from the other goods that are recommended to you. They will ask thee what they shall expend in alms, say the surplus. Thus goes Allah manifest to you his signs, haply ye may reflect on this world and in the next. They will ask thee about the orphans, say, to do good to them is the best, but if ye interfere with them, they are your brethren, and Allah knows the evildoer from the well-doer, and if Allah will, He will surely trouble you. Verily Allah is mighty wise. And unlike the tithing system, which is up front of everything, no exceptions like regular taxes, the zakat system, it's outside of your needs. If you have more than you need, and that doesn't mean, but I can't go out to McDonald's, or I can't get the cable package. No, that's not a need. But because there are certainly people who have nothing in savings because they have got stuff they didn't need and say, well, I don't have the zakat minimum amount, so, well, that's because you wasted it. Wed not the idolatrous women until they believe, for surely a believing handmaid is better than an idolatrous woman, even though she please you. And wed not the idolatrous men until they believe, for a believing slave is better than an idolater, even though he please you. And there's more detail to this in Suwrah 5 about the people of the book. And it's fair to say that it's more than the Yehud and the Nasar, the Jews and the Christians and related groups. That it would also be people of other previous scriptures that are of good reputation. They can be misassociators, so of course it's better to be with a monotheist. Those invite you to the fire. But Allah invites you to paradise and pardon by His permission, and makes clear His signs to men. Happily they may remember, and they will ask thee about menstruation, say it is a hurt. So keep apart from women in their menstruation, and go not near them till they be cleansed. But when they are cleansed, come into them by wherever Allah has ordained you. Verily Allah loves those who turn to Him, and those who keep themselves clean. And a little euphemism has been used by the translator, but don't go into them sexually in their, stay out of the pelvic region, basically. But discomfort is a way to translate what we're saying here, too. Because some people say, it doesn't hurt, it's just discomfortable. Okay, that's what it says, too. Your women are a tilth, so come into your tillage how you choose, but do a previous good act for yourselves, and fear God, and know that you are going to meet Him, and give good things unto those who do believe. Now, we're one of the few religions that actually teaches that marital sex is a good thing. The Bible doesn't have a very good view of it. It's, you do it to avoid committing adultery. You avoid getting married, but if you think it might prevent you from sinning, you do that, but you stay apart as much as you can. No, in Islam, it's considered a good act. But you got to be good to your spouses aside from that. You don't just plow and, leave it alone. Just like a field, you just can't plow and not plant the seeds and not make sure it's kept moist and all that stuff. So it's... Make not Allah the butt of your oaths, that ye will keep clear and fear, and make peace amongst men, for Allah both hears and knows. I don't like the way that was translated. That kind of sounds like swearing. But you don't, don't make God the object of your mere oaths. When you say wallahi, you mean it. And don't make oaths to use people. He will not catch you up for a casual word in your oaths, but He will catch you up for what your hearts have earned. But Allah is forgiving and clement. Those who swear off from their women, they must wait 4 months. But if they break their vow, Allah is forgiving and merciful. If they intend to divorce them, verily Allah hears and knows. Divorced women must wait for themselves 3 courses, and it is not lawful to them that they hide what Allah has created in their wombs. If they believe in Allah and in the last day, their husbands will do better to take them back in that, if they wish for reconciliation, for the same is due to them as from them, but the men should have precedence over them. Allah is mighty and wise. Divorce twice, then keep them in reason, or let them go with kindness. It is not lawful to you to take from them anything of what you have given them, unless both fear that they cannot keep within Allah's bounds. So if ye fear that ye cannot keep within Allah's bounds, there is no crime in you, both about what she ransoms herself with. These are Allah's bounds. Do not transgress them, and whoso transgresses Allah's bounds, they it is who are unjust. So women return their dowries, and sometimes they even return some of the gifts of the husband as part of, hey, I want a divorce. This is to, make clear on my part that I'm going through it, that I'm not just being emotional here and saying something. I am, I'm serious. But that's one of the differences in the Western system, is the women don't, per se, have that bridal insurance, as the mahr would be called. What is this called? The kula? Yeah. There are Allah's bounds, not the right size, who transgresses Allah's bounds. They it is who are unjust. But if he divorce her, shall not be lawful to him after that until she marry another husband. But if he divorce her too, there is no crime in them to come together again if they think that they can keep within Allah's bounds. These are Allah's bounds, which he explains to the people who know. And, by the time you divorce the same person 3 times, and it's not, I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you. No, you got a divorce. You got a period of, the waiting period. You go through that, and then you can either declare or you can go through the waiting period and declare the divorce, and then the divorce can be final. And if you end up getting married again after the waiting period, and then again and again, so it's something done again, and you can't just, divorce is not something to play games with. And by the way, in Islam, to divorce more than 4 times in your life is considered a sin. When you divorce women and they have reached the prescribed time, then keep them kindly or let them go. No crime with them, both come together if they think that they can keep with Allah's bounds. These are Allah's bounds, which he explains to the people who know. When you divorce women and they have reached the prescribed time, then keep them kindly or let them go in reason, but do not keep them by force to transgress. For whoso does that, he is unjust to his own soul. And do not take Allah's signs in jest, and remember Allah's favors to you, and what he has sent down to you of the book, and wisdom to admonish you thereby, and fear Allah, and know that Allah doth all things know. When you divorce women and they have reached their prescribed time, do not prevent them from marrying their husbands when they have agreed with each other reasonably. That is what he is admonished with. Who amongst you believes in Allah and in the last day? And they are more pure for you and cleaner. But Allah knows, and ye know not. Mothers must suckle their children 2 whole years for one who wishes to complete the time of suckling. And on him to whom it is born, its sustenance and clothing are incumbent, but in no reason, for no soul shall be obliged beyond its capacity. A mother shall not be forced for her child, nor he to whom it is born for his child, and the same on the heir. But if both parties wish to wean by mutual consent and counsel, then it is no crime in them. And if ye wish to provide a wet nurse for your children, it is no crime in you, when you pay what you have promised her. In reason, fear Allah, know that Allah on what ye do doth look. Those of you who die and leave wives behind, let these wait by themselves for 4 months and 10 days, and when they have reached their prescribed time, there is no crime in them for what they do with themselves in reason, for Allah of what ye do is well aware. Nor is there any crime in you for that ye make them an offer of marriage, or that ye keep in secret and your minds. Allah knows that ye will remember them, but do not propose to them in secret unless ye speak a reasonable speech, and resolve not on the marriage tie until the book shall reach its time. But know that Allah knows what is in your souls, so beware, and know that Allah is forgiving and clement. And America, they used to have laws against, you can't propose to a woman as a farce, because men would do that, because a lot of women will compromise on their moral principles if you propose to them. Well, I'm getting married, so I'm not going to be sinning along. So, we got to be careful of our speech. One of the 4 poisons of the heart. So those sins are not one choice, but that's sort of hinted out there, It is no crime in you if you divorce your women ere you have yet touched them, or settled for them a settlement, but provide maintenance for them. The wealthy according to his power, and the straitened in circumstance according to his power, must provide in reason a duty, this upon the kind. And if ye divorce them before ye have touched them, but have already settled for them a settlement, the half of what you have settled, unless they remit it, or he in whose hand is the marriage tie remits it, and that ye should remit as near to piety, and forget not liberality between you. Verily, Allah on what you do doth look. Observe the prayers and the middle prayer, and stand ye in attendance before Allah. And the middle prayer. So, evening, dusk, dawn, that's the middle prayer in order. And it's also the coldest prayer. The middle of the afternoon prayer is the hottest prayer, but that's the last of the sequence. And then the middle prayer of the day is, when the sun's moved from its highest, so the early afternoon prayer. But the mystical meaning of this is probably the most important, as much as the physical form counts of what you're doing. The inner form, the inner piety of your prayer is obviously going to count more. It's your intention, your consciousness, and all this other stuff. So in ritual, you have three aspects. You have the outer requirements, the symbols, the words, the directions, whatever is present. Then you have in the second portion, what it all means. And in the third portion, you have further thought. And sometimes you have and of course, experience. And if ye fear, then afoot or on horseback, but when ye are in safety, remember Allah, how He taught you while ye did not know. And those of you who die and leave wives should bequeath to their wives maintenance for a year without expulsion. But if they go out, there is no crime in you for what they do of themselves in reason. But Allah is mighty and wise, and divorced women should have a maintenance. In reason, a duty on this is on those that fear. And thus does Allah explain to you His signs, haply ye may understand. Dost thou not look at those who left their homes by thousands for fear of death? And Allah said to them, die. And then He quickened them again. Verily Allah is Lord of grace to men. But most men give no thanks. Fight then in Allah's way, and know that Allah both hears and knows. Who is there who will lend to Allah a goodly loan? He will redouble it. Many a double. Allah closes His hand and holds it out, and unto Him shall ye return. Dost thou not look at the crowd of the children of Israel after Moses' time, when they said to the prophets of theirs, raise up for us a king, and we will fight in Allah's way? He said, will ye perhaps, if it be written down for you to fight, refuse to fight? And they said, and why should we not fight in Allah's way, now that we are dispossessed of our homes and sons? So again, it's not just killing in the name of, there's worldly reasons for people who disbelieve that would support that. But when it was written down for them to fight, they turned back, save a few of them, and Allah knows who are evildoers. Then their prophet said to them, verily Allah has raised for you Talut as a king. They said, how can the kingdom be over his? It's the Arabic equivalent of Saul. Shaul. And there's an ancient Egyptian equivalent of the sort of appointed ruler. Someone else in authority appoints the ruler as a king. And they said, how can the kingdom be his over us? We have more right to the kingdom than he, for he has not an amplitude of wealth. He said, verily Allah has chosen him over you, and has provided him with an extent of knowledge and of form. Allah gives the kingdom unto whom he will. Allah comprehends and knows. And so it's better that people don't be ruled by kings and oligarchies and stuff like this. It's better that they keep the right of rule amongst themselves. But if they remit it, or if enough of them remit it to make it possible, it's definitely, God isn't standing in the way of the people getting what they want in that respect. So don't think that Islam calls for monarchies or republics or totalitarian states or anything like that. This is not theocracy. Not even in the Israeli times. Actual theocracy, as the prophets had described it, that's not what's going on. Then said to them their prophet, the sign of his kingdom is that there shall come to you the ark with repose. And Shekinah is... Sakina is tranquility and repose and presence and stuff like this. The presence, Sakin, is the same as Shekin in the biblical Aramaic. In it from your Lord, and the relics of what the family of Moses and the family of Aaron left, the angels shall bear it. In that is surely a sign to you if you believe. And when Talut set out with his soldiery, he said, Allah will try you with the river, and he who drinks therefrom, he is not mine, but whoso taste it not, he is of mine, save he who laps it with lapping with his hand. And they drank it from it, save a few of them, and when he crossed it, he and those who believed with them, they said, we have no power this day against Jalut and his soldiery. Those who thought that they should meet their Lord said, how many a small division of men have conquered a numerous division by permission of Allah, for Allah is with the patient. And when they went out against Jalut with his soldiery, they said, Lord, pour out patience over us, and make firm our steps, and help us against the misbelieving people. And they put them to flight by permission of Allah, and David killed Jalut. That's the same as Goliath. And Goliath, again, just like Talut is a title. You know, the big lug. Jalut is the same as Goliath or Alut. Alut, yeah. In the biblical Aramaic. And it's a ta. It's a tau, not a thet in the biblical Aramaic. So the is the anglicized form of the term. And Allah gave him the kingdom and wisdom and taught him of what he willed. And were it not for Allah's repelling men one with another, the earth would become spoiled. But Allah is Lord of grace over the worlds. So this is one place where people think there's a contradiction in the Bible, because there's 3 people who kill Goliath, but it's a term. The big log that leads the army, it was an interesting form. Even the Arabs during the time of Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah, they sometimes would send 1 or 2 men out or something, and 1 or 2 men would come out, and the fighting would happen like that beforehand. These are the sightings of Allah, we recite them to thee in truth, for verily thou art of those who are sent. These apostles have we preferred, one of them above the other. Of them is one to whom Allah spake, and we have raised some of them degrees, and we have given Jesus, the Son of Mary, manifest signs, and strengthened him by the Holy Spirit, and did Allah please, those who came after them would not have fought after there came to them manifest signs, but they did disagree, and of them are some who believe, and of them are some who misbelieve, but did Allah please, and they would not have fought, but Allah does what he will. O ye who believe, expend in alms of what we have bestowed upon you, before the day comes in which is no barter and no friendship and no intercession, and the misbelievers, they are the unjust. And before I say the best verse in Al Qoor'aan, I am going to show you. So kind of the flip side, it would have looked like a it would have looked like an N. Oh, I'm not doing it right, but it would have looked like an N from this perspective. But from my perspective, it would have looked like a backwards N. But the downwards view, kind of facing north, would have been a Z. And in my Ramadan third night dream here, I saw that 2:24 a.m. this Monday in all sorts of colored patterns, sort of a blocky letter sort of form of it above me on the ceiling. There were other forms like that in sort of a psychedelic rainbow sort of encased, but there were like a balloon blowing up sort of roundness of colorful clouds coming back and forth and wiping over me. And then at the sleep where I went, or maybe rest, that I went to sleep around 3:36 a.m., there was like this whirling sort of, the ceiling lighted up white. I mean, I turned everything else off here. There's some glow in the dark here, but that is not going to have that effect. So whether those were dreams or visions, that is what I'm going to share before this wonderful verse to say before going to sleep. That kind of refutes some of my childhood misunderstandings of, if this is God's house, where does he sleep? So I'd say stuff like that in church when I was little, apparently. I don't remember. Allah, there's no God but He, the living, the self-subsisting. Slumber takes Him not, nor sleep. And this is what is in the heavens and what is in the earth. Who is it that intercedes with Him, save by His permission? He knows what is before them and what is behind them, and He comprehends, and they comprehend not aught of His knowledge. But of what He pleases. His throne extends over the heavens and the earth, and it tires Him not to guard them both, for He is high and grand. And after such a wonderful verse, it's important to speak about freedom of religion and sort of the why for freedom of religion. There is no compulsion in religion. The right way has been distinguished from the wrong, and whoso disbelieves in Tagut and believes in Allah, he has got hold of the firm handle in which is no breaking off, but Allah both hears and knows. So, comment of what the N means in spiritual names. The S-like letters and the Z-like letters are particular, but this was more of a Z-like letter. And N's and M's are also a lot more common in spiritual names of beings and spiritual phrases. So, what do you think that means? There is no compulsion in religion. The right way has been distinguished from the wrong, and whoso disbelieves in Tagut, the rebel, and believes in Allah, he has got hold of the firm handle in which is no breaking off, but Allah both hears and knows. Allah is the patron of those who believe. He brings them forth from darkness into light. But those who misbelieve, their patrons are Tagut. These bring them forth from the light to the darkness. Fellows of the fire, they dwell therein for aye. And this reminds me of the Asathoma Sadgamaya Thamasoma Jothregamaya Mrithyoma Ramathamgamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. That's Sanskrit, by the way, but it's a related chant and meaning. From the darkness to the light, from the unreal lead me to the real, from the darkness lead me to the light, from the immortality. From mortality lead me to immortality. But anyways, peace, peace, peace. Do ye not look at him who disputed with Abraham about his Lord, that Allah had given him the kingdom? When Abraham said, My Lord is he who giveth life and death, he said, I give life and death. Abraham said, But verily Allah brings the sun from the east. Do thou then bring it from the west? And he who misbelieved was dumbfounded, for Allah does not guide the unjust folk. Are like him who passed by a village when it was desolate and turned over its roots, and said, How will Allah revive this after its death? And Allah made him die for 100 years, and then raised him and said, How long hast thou tarried? Said he, I have tarried a day, or some part of a day. He said, Nay, thou hast tarried 100 years. Look at thy food and drink. They are not spoiled. And look at thine ass, for we will make thee a sign to men. And look at thy bones, how we scatter them, and then clothe them with flesh. And when it was made manifest to him, he said, I know that Allah is mighty over all. And this sort of reminds me of, is it Nehemiah 2 that mentions a story like this? Is it Elijah? Something. One of those, probably. If it's happens to be Ezekiel or something like that, let me know too. Once he got him, clothed in flesh, when his made manifested to him, he said, I know the Lord's mighty over all. And when Abraham said, Lord, show me how thou wilt revive the dead, he said, What, dost thou not yet believe? Said he, Yea, but that my heart may be quieted. He said, Then take 4 birds, and take them close to thyself. Then put a part of them on every mountain. Then call them, and they will come to thee in haste. And know that Allah is mighty wise. The likeness of those who expend their wealth in Allah's way is as the likeness of a grain that grows to 7 years, and every year is 100 grains. For Allah will double unto whom he pleases, for Allah both embraces and knows those who expend their wealth in Allah's way. Then do not follow up what they expend by taunting with it and by annoyance. These have their hire with their Lord, and no fear is on them, neither shall they grieve. Kind speech and pardon are better than almsgiving followed by annoyance, and Allah is rich and clement. So don't use the fact that you've given in charity as an excuse to abuse people. Or, look at what I did for you. Are you going to do something for me? You know, that's not charity, that's buying people, and literally, some people would rather be on the street than be used like that. O ye who believe, make not your almsgiving vain by taunts and annoyance, like him who expends what he has for the sake of appearances before men, and believes not in Allah and in the last day. For his likeness is as the likeness of a flint with soil upon it, and a heavy shower falls on it, and leaves it